Hello, I'm Scott Wrighton and I serve as Decatur's City Manager. And it's my pleasure to bring you these weekly video updates about what's going on in Decatur, about COVID-19, and other projects of the Decatur City government. Today's a different day. Today we inaugurate and install a new national administration in Washington. Half the country, it seems, is not happy about that, and the other half of the country is happy about it. But we should all celebrate that the system works. Peaceful transfers of power from one partisan group of leaders to an opposing partisan group of leaders is not a global norm. Making sure that it remains peaceful in the days and weeks and months ahead requires that we all respect the rule of law, that we acknowledge and respect that all citizens have equal rights, not just some of them, and that we should reject cancel culture. From Washington to our own Decatur City Council meetings, we have seen some of the ugliness of cancel culture. We don't have to agree with one another all the time, but we can be more civil in our exercise of our free speech. So, I don't know, start smiling more and just be kind. 2020 was a hard year, but it wasn't all bad. Local mainstream media and certainly social media tends to emphasize the negative, so let me spend a little bit of time in this video emphasizing the positive. Although many American cities experienced highly destructive civil unrest in 2020, Decatur had very little. The marches for social justice were not only peaceful, they were also productive here in Decatur. Although gun violence has ticked up across our country, as well as in Decatur, we have a good closure rate for these crimes, and we do not tolerate criminality when it occurs. We found out in 2020 that the Decatur Police Department is highly professional, that it is ahead of the curve on these evolving standards of professional police conduct, on the use of force, and how to deploy body-worn cameras, and much more. And the citizens of Decatur were assured that there would be no defunding, as it was called, of police in Decatur, so that safety standards could be maintained. Keeping people safe is one of the primary obligations of government. COVID-19 really cut into our city budget in 2020, but we got through it without any layoffs. Our workforce is now about 4% down from what it was, almost exclusively through attrition. But I'm proud and pleased to say that our employees in every single department of city government have stepped up. They've filled those gaps and they've found creative ways to save time and to save money. The City Council at the same time has committed to getting through this pandemic without any big tax increases. The City Council's general fund has suffered significantly in revenue losses as a result of the pandemic, but not as much as some other comparably sized communities in downstate Illinois, in part because of your support of our local businesses. The city has worked tirelessly in securing state and federal funding for rent and utility assistance for persons who are distressed by COVID, for small business assistance grants, and other types of COVID help. Dove is still taking applications from persons that might be displaced as a result of COVID for rent as well as utility assistance. Turning to rules for the reopening of our businesses that have been closed or restrained due to the state of Illinois' COVID rules, there is really some positive news there as well. As many of you may have heard, on January 19th, our region, Region 6, moved to Tier 1 mitigations. This means that theaters and public meeting halls can be open with some restrictions. Bars and restaurants can also be open for indoor service, also with some restrictions, and many more businesses as well. We are hoping to move to an even greater level of flexibility, or less restrictive, and it's called Phase 4 as soon as possible. Details about all of those restrictions under Tier 1 and what they could be under Phase 4 are really too lengthy and detailed for me to mention here, but you can find the details very easily by going to the IDPH and the DCEO websites, and we have included much of that information on the City of Decatur's website as well, which we keep up to date. But to move to Phase 4, as well as to get through Phase 1, it was really important that we remain cautious and vigilant, and we need to do so moving forward. Although the new strains of COVID that appear to be coming our way won't be any more serious than the strains we've been dealing with. They move faster and they can be caught easier. For this reason, the City of Decatur's mask ordinance remains in force and in place, along with other social distancing and business cleanliness protocols. Please don't let your guard down now. Macon County's positivity rate still hovers around 8.0%. That's okay, and it's better than several surrounding counties that didn't do anything, but it needs to be better if we're going to get to phase 4 and to get to some degree of normalcy. So thanks in advance for all of your help. Municipal elections are just around the corner, but they're going to be a little bit different this year because eligible voters will need to come out twice to vote for City Council, not just once. There will be a primary on February 23rd to reduce the field of candidates to 6, and then there'll be another election on April 6th to narrow that list of candidates further to the 3 that will be taking office later in the year. So please educate yourself about all of those candidates that have taken the time to put their names on the ballot and participate in both elections on February 23 and on April 6th. At the City Council meeting that was held most recently on January 19th, the City Council determined that there was no need to take any action on ordinances that they had on their agenda regarding bar and restaurant closings because literally less than a day before the City Council meeting, the state had made a decision to move Region 6 to Tier 1. The city's ordinances are mostly pegged or tied to the state's rules, so when the state changes their rules for Macon County, then our ordinances and our protocols change automatically, and that was why the City Council didn't have to take any action and it was deleted from the agenda. At that same meeting, the Mayor and City Council continued to work on a major plan that will extend over many years for watershed management and better care of Lake Decatur to keep it from receiving too much erosion and siltation. We don't want to see another major dredging project that costs us so much money. You'll be hearing more about that in the months to come, but I mention that not only as a way of saying that the Mayor and City Council are being good stewards of this important resource, but also so that you know that the regular work of your city government continues. And I look forward to telling you more about that when we do this video again next week. Thanks for all you do to help make Decatur better.